Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The basic human rights are enshrined in our Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Inequality, poverty, and unemployment are the interdependent socioeconomic challenges. They're normally labeled as the triple challenge, and they do need urgent attention from policymakers and also our leaders across the South African society. Good evening, my name is Ginger, and I'm the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows. So tonight we're talking about the role of human rights in the contemporary South Africa. And we're very excited to be hosting a very, very special guest, Mr. Hermann Mashaba. He is the former mayor of Johannesburg. He is the founder now of Action South Africa. He's not only that, but he's an entrepreneur. If you remember Black Like Me, the head product that we all grew up using, he is the founder of it, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. He's also an author, a father, and a husband. Mr. Hermann Mashaba, thank you so much for coming through to our show tonight. Welcome to Ginger the Voice.
Good evening to the listeners, Ginger. Thank you so much for this invitation. When I received the invitation, 2 weeks or so ago, when I realized who it was, and I said, I'm in, I'll make a plan, and here am I. Thank you so much for giving me this platform and the opportunity.
No, thank you, sir. Sir, our first question to you would be, we read about your story, and we're so excited to know that you are a South African. You were also brought up in similar situations as a majority of South Africans, for example, in a poverty-orientated background. But we're so excited to read about you and your successes. I mean, you wrote a book, you founded a Black Like Me, so you're a very skilled entrepreneur, and I think what's exciting is to know that you didn't yield to drugs, as some of our youth may run to, because they would reason and say, I'm from a poor background and I need money. Instead, you worked your way up. Just tell us about your success. What inspired you to choose the right path and the right direction?
It's actually quite really sad to see what's happening in our country. I think I grew up, obviously, in poverty. I had to learn how to gamble at the very early stage of my life. There's a reason why I was inspired actually by a lady called Moki Makura. I don't know if you know Moki. One who inspired me, in fact, forced me. She did not give me an option. She, many years ago, she was writing a book called Africa's whatever entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. And I happened to be one of the people she targeted. And then after writing this book, she said, and listening to me, she said, no, Herman, there's just no way this life has got to really be told. And she did not give me an option. I said, Moki, I've got a very complicated life. Upbringing was, I said to her, I was a gambler. By the time I was 17, 18 in matric, Form 4 and Form 5, every Friday or weekend, I'll go and play. In the townships, we played this game of dice. And I used to be a Northman to really be able to really go to school and so forth. So I said, there's some embarrassing moments of my childhood. And it says, no, that's precisely what people want to know. And yes, and that's how Black Like You as a book came about. And I've tried to really be as honest as possible, what I can remember about really my terrible upbringing in my youth, and why at the age of 22 I took a decision to get married and then start be an independent person and saying, look, you know what, don't allow PW Port and the National Party to determine your destiny. Became a commission sales rep, and I was lucky. 1983 came across a company in Johannesburg selling hair care products. I sold for them on a commission basis for 19 months. And during that 19 months, I became the top sales person. But then I felt really very vulnerable. I said, I'm not going to make money for this person. Black women and men out there are going to be PEM. They want to be PEM, and they're going to be PEM for the rest of their lives. Why can't I make a plan to make this product myself? You can imagine a trader myself. I had no technical know-how, but I had the courage to want to really succeed in life. And that's when I put together a group of like-minded South Africans, including a white Afrikaner who have brought in the technical know-how to the business. Obviously, everything else is history. I still have a very successful business, which my wife and my partners are looking after. So it's been a journey that spans over 61 years. So
wow. Wow. I like the part where you're saying that you and your wife, you keep on referring to your wife, you keep on referring to your family. As now someone who grew up in a child-headed household, because I know that your father passed away when you were only 2 years old, and your mother was a domestic worker, obviously not at home most of the time. So you grew up with your older sister. Were you able to come up with such a stable family and be a man and a husband and a father without you having much mentorship in terms of how to be a husband, how to be a family man?
I think, my sisters honestly really played a very key role, not especially my elder sister, because she was the one in charge of the family, and she was 13 years my senior, as you can imagine. Okay. So she was obviously the mother, and then two other sisters ahead of me, and the last one. The elder one, Esther, she unfortunately, let her soul rest in peace, died 2-3 years ago. She actually played a key role, and she also got married at a young age. She must have been under 20 or so when she got married, and she got married to a wonderful man. When I went to Form 1, because obviously I was born in a rural area, village, where our school only operated from sub A up to standard 6. So from 1 up to matric, I had to go to Temba, Ratepo High School, which you needed transport, and I did not have the money to go to school. And my sister, when she got married, they managed to buy a piece of land in Temba, and they lived in a tin house place, and I lived with them for many years. And my brother-in-law was also an inspiration to me. But the man who played the most key role in my life is my grandfather. My grandfather, an educated man who was a security guard at Garankuwa. He worked for the Garankuwa municipality. For some reason, I meant everything to this man. And in fact, I think I wrote even in my book and growing up, telling people about my grandfather. I regret because I did not have the chance to tell him how grateful I am. But I can only talk about it because he died in 1977. But this old man, I meant everything to him. For some reason, I don't understand. I was born on the 26th of August. Why he happened to have been home that time, and on the day when I was born, that's when the entire village knew of my birth, and he gave me the name Hyman. If you go to the village Haramutsu where I was born, everybody knows me as Hyman, and this name was just too much for me because everybody in the community knew what it meant because my grandfather was not just success. My success was not negotiable. And I think I used to feel that my grandfather's expectations are unreasonable, and every time as I get older, I actually appreciate the wisdom I got from him because he taught me and insisted on integrity. He insisted on being me. I must always be here. I must not be someone. I must not try and be anybody else. He taught me to listen to people, but I must judge people by what they do, not what they say.
Absolutely.
And those are things that when I was growing up, because every time when he came home, he used to come home once a month, and he would always insist when he when he came, he used to drive a bicycle. You can imagine from Harankua to Tahawanskal. He used to come by bicycle. As he enters the village, people will know because he'll start screaming. Everyone would know. He starts screaming, looking for me. You know, I used to really be a joke. I used to be a joke to other boys, you know, because I was saying, what's wrong with this old man about me? But I meant everything in his life, and he wanted the whole weekend till be home. I would always be there with him, and I took so much from him.
Buswamini there is giving a comment and saying that I like him for the courage he had even at a young age. I suppose it even shows now in how you left the DA to come and be this man of integrity and work on your own. Colleen Francisco Orleans is also saying that he's a man of integrity, you know, and she has that emoji that says, you know, perfect, you know. So I guess it's paid off that you had a grandfather who was that kind of role model, because now you are living the life that he has taught you. Like you say, sir, that it wasn't, at first you thought that this is too much, he expects too much from you, but look at where you are today. I suppose it's something to be grateful for.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think it actually pains me because you can imagine when he died in 1977, I was in Form 4. I was a young boy, didn't really take this old man seriously, and I really miss the opportunity to pay back to him what he did, how he shaped my life. But unfortunately, it is life. And I think my mother and my sisters also really played such a real role. I mean, I was brought up by women. And I was lucky. I used to like women when I was young, like all the other boys. But I was lucky. I was lucky. No, I'm not. It was a weakness of all of us boys to really like girls because there was no parental supervision. You can imagine, you know, for me in my life, in my entire life. And calling someone dead is foreign to me. So if someone, you know, I get so envious of my kids to have dead around. I don't. For me, having dead or calling someone dead is foreign to me. You know, but my mother and my sisters, they means everything to me, and they meant. Unfortunately, my mother died at 74, and. Just after, at least she managed to see the new South Africa, but I never had an opportunity to meet her husband, my father. But this life, there's certain things in life I can't really change. But I hope one day, if life is what it is, I might be able one day to meet them.
Absolutely, we believe that there's a life after death. I'm so interested in you, Mr. Mashaba. You're always talking about your family, and you're always talking about your wife. And I know that a few weeks ago, I think 6 or 7 days ago, you're celebrating your anniversary, 39 years of being with someone. That is awesome. That is something to celebrate. And I think what's more impressive about you still being married is the fact that we can still sense the spark between you and Mama Coney. How do you do it? How do you do it? You have lived such a busy life. You're a hectic every political figure, entrepreneurship. You know, you're even an author now. There's a lot that you do. How do you balance, and how do you make ensure that the spark is still there?
Because obviously I'm scared of her. She's the boss of the house.
She's a very good boss.
She doesn't take my nonsense. She plays a role. We used to have a friend, Walter Dube, the gentleman who gave us the loan to start Black Like Me. We became friends over years, and Walter used to say to us, wives are like a referee, you know. When you play a football game, when you go off the lines, there's a referee who keeps you within the boundaries. And my wife has been I think as a referee, she will get a distinction, you know.
Oh, wow. Well, we thank Mama Kwani for borrowing us, you as a nation in South Africa. You know, on your 38th celebration of your anniversary, that was No, no, this year
39.
is 39. Yes.
Last Wednesday was
Yes, this
39.
is 39, absolutely. This year's 39, but now I'm talking about the 30th one. You write on Twitter all the time. I follow you on Twitter, so you get very excited about your family. You're actually a family man. That's what I picked up, and you're passionate about your family, and that's why I say I picked up that there's a spark. There's still the spark after so many years between you and Mama Connie. What I want to understand is that on your tweet celebrating your anniversary on 2020, okay, you wrote Twitter, obviously appreciating Mama, but there's one phrase that actually took my attention, and I want to quote you verbatim. So it says, "Here's to many more years together as we build the South Africa of our dreams." That to me is a very loaded statement. It's actually a powerful phrase, and I would like you to unpack for us, as you were mayor of Johannesburg, what did you desire to see in South Africa? You know, as you entered the political arena, what did you desire to see? And as a mayor of Johannesburg, what is it that you did to contribute towards building this South Africa that is of your dreams?
You know, Ginger, you know, Connie and I, by the time we met and decided to get married at a very young age, we had a dream of success. So because we wanted to really succeed and succeed at our own terms. And when the new South Africa came in 1994, by our standards, we were already reasonably successful. We had the houses in the township with tennis courts, floodlights, a swimming pool, double-storied house. Before we turned 30, we had the house in the township, double-storied, tennis court, floodlights. Before the age of 30, in the dark days of this country's history. We never thought we'll see our democracy. And I think for some reason, from literally from day one, with my family, extra money that we've made, we've always really been conscious of people around us. That's why we've always spent whatever money that because we were lucky to make more than what we could consume. And we'd always do everything possible to share it with family members, with our communities, with our customers, and so forth. That's how we build. If you look at the Black Like Me as a company, was built at the back of getting involved in community projects like we're a political party, because we had the name that would resonate with our people. We wanted to give Black people pride, but it was a commercial thing for us. But at the same time, we took advantage. Because I remember actually when we developed this name, Black Like Me, Walter Dube is the one who came out with the name. We had lots of names, and I wanted something that was going to be catchy. I think we must have had 2-3 days of debating the names, and one day Walter Dube came out with this name. I said, guys, this is the name. And some of my colleagues were worried, but it says, how are we to, this might obviously attract the National Party government, that we are another political party. I said, guys, we are a commercial venture. If they want to see what this Black Like Me name means, they can come into our factory and see what products. So we're manufacturing hair care products, shampoos, conditioners, perm lotions, and so forth. So, I mean, we cannot get the government to really determine a name for us. And I tell you, this name played a very, very important role because it gave Black people the dignity. We spend money in the communities, make sure that we get our people to really have that pride. You know what? Before the age of, in my early 30s, I had a huge factory in Mabopane, 6,000 square meter factory. Not all anyone has seen producing products, supplying the entire Southern Africa. I think that factory, you can imagine, by 1990, must have cost me roughly 10 million rands. I did not owe anyone a cent. I started the business with 30,000 rands in January of 1985. By 1990, I could manage and afford to build a factory without getting any financial support from anyone. the pride we used to really get, employing local people, 300 people in Mabopane. We had trucks, delivering trucks, sending products all over Southern Africa. I think that used to really give me pride. And I was still really young as a person. And then the South Africa came. For me, I expected to see the explosion of Black entrepreneurship, because at the time, Black people were doing amazing stuff. You can go to Soweto, you can go to Mdantsane. Black people were running garages, were running supermarkets, were running butcheries. Today, Ginger, it hurts me, and honestly and truly hurts me deeply, not just a small time. That's what meant eventually got me to say to my family, I said, you know what, guys, we can afford to let me free. Let me go and participate in this democratic dispensation. We cannot allow this, because I personally feel betrayed by the new South Africa. Because today I go into our communities, I look at the poverty, I look at the education that is being offered to our children, the unemployment. When I grew up, Ginger, people who did not work were those who did not want to work. Are you aware about it? That is why, in fact, the National Party government, when I was grew up, they used to have what they used to arrest us as Black people for lawful scab. Those, you can imagine, the police would go around in the townships and villages when arrest those people who did not want to work. Today, let me take you to that community in Amanskral where I was born. I can tell you unemployment there must be in the 80s. But what hurts me most is that you've got a massive industrial area, billions of industrial area, relatively new, lying empty. The tripartite alliance COSATU to close them down one by one, without showing no mercy whatsoever. And it's not only in Amanskral, Haranko industrial area where I started, Black Like Me, used to be a vibrant area where people of Haranko used to work. In Kwatwa, in Umtata, all over the country. These industrial areas today are the shadow of yesterday. But what I find it difficult is our government will talk about unemployment, triple whatever, as a political rhetoric. That is why I think the subject of human rights in contemporary South Africa. 1996, when we approved this constitution, our current president went all over the world, being invited by world leaders in parliaments to come and address them about this constitution that we thought was going to really make us as Black people, as Africans, a proud nation. Today, South Africa is actually, we are the laughing stock of the world. We are the laughing stock of the world. We have, in just under 27 years, we are the most corrupt country in the world. We've got the highest sustainable unemployment rate in the world. Are you aware South Africa has got the highest unemployment rate in the world?
Yes.
We are the rape capital of the world. We are it actually hurts me when over the years traveling before I even got into politics that people you meet people overseas and we talk about being from South Africa. People will be scared to come to South Africa because of the rape and murder, because we are the murder capital of the world. We kill more people violently in South Africa than countries which are at war. We are unequal today than we were before 1994. But then what about this constitution we celebrated, including the current president, when this constitution is being shown the middle finger? He's the one not there to really protect. I keep saying to people in the world, that says, I wonder how Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa as a person feels when he had the courage, when he got invited by the world at the time, not in government. He went to share his experiences. It is there for the world to know. And with talking to ambassadors when I was the mayor. I used to invite and host ambassadors from all over the world, and they know about this. Now, when you have someone who goes out into the world, you go and break about this constitution, and then many years later, you get an opportunity to be the president, but you're the one who's actually part of the violation of that constitution. That is what I'm talking about: integrity and ethical leadership, and that's something that I find quite disturbing. I feel betrayed as a South African, because what this government is doing in South Africa at this point in time, unfortunately, it's a reflection on all of us as Black people, because the failure of the current government, the world is actually looking at us, particularly as Black people, to say, can Blacks actually manage? And I think that's something that we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror to say, you know what, these people don't represent us. And we make that mistake as Black people. When people go out and loot and rape and everything, we are quiet. But when something happens on a racial basis, it's like
we're the first to protest.
Yeah, and then when these thieves, when these thugs, they go and steal, when they get arrested, then they come to us and says, no, Black people are under attack. You know what? Please, they don't represent me. I've never really apologized to anyone, because when they're stealing, when they're looting, we are not there. Please don't steal in the name of Black people. Black people are not thieves. I've got family, I've got millions of Black people who are God-fearing and loving people. They've got nothing to do with us. I look at how this government over the last 27 years has compromised Black talent. You know, when I was a mayor of the city of Johannesburg, firing accountants, firing lawyers, firing engineers, Black ones, white ones, but majority of them Black, because majority of the people were Black, who allowed the current government to compromise them. I think if you get a chance, I don't know if you read an article I wrote a few years ago about how ANC compromised Black talent. And I did not write, penning down that article was not an easy thing to do, but it was necessary to do. So that, because I was giving a practical example of, you can imagine, for a Black family to train someone as an engineer, and you then work for this corrupt government, and I come in and I find that you are part of this corruption. What do I do? Unfortunately, I've got no option, because, you know, for me, I'm not the kind of person who stands on the fence. That is why I grew up. People really know that I'm a stubborn person, but it's up to how people would interpret me. But there's certain things. For me, there's no black and white. There's black or there's white, but I'm not the kind of person prepared to stand on the fence. And as I grow up, and the teachings from my grandfather, that's when I get even stronger and more resolute in ensuring that I live to what my grandfather wanted me to become.
Tell me, sir, there's a viewer asking, what can ordinary people do to claim their constitutional rights in a non-destructive way?
Very, very, very good question. In fact, interestingly, I was talking to one of our media people a few hours ago. We're coming back from Lens in Kele. It's a young woman, and she's in our media space. And I was telling her about young people like yourself and so forth. And Kele, you know what? The people are making, South Africans are making a terrible mistake, because we believe people are voting for the ANC. People are not voting for the ANC. ANC's support base is declining at a very fast rate. And I gave an example of show her one slide on my phone. I sent it to her. Said 18.3 million South Africans did not vote. And these are people who will never vote for this current government. They thought by not voting, they are punishing this government. In the meantime, unfortunately, if you've got a country with 35 million eligible voters and only 17.6 million turn up to vote, and 18.3 million stay away, and ANC wins 57% to 10 million, who put ANC into government? It's not the 10 million people who voted for the ANC. is the 18.3 million South Africans. So I think I was saying to her, I said, Michele, from a communication point of view, let's find creative ways to wake our people up, particularly our youth, because it's the future that I'm worried and concerned about. To do it in a non-destructive way. They don't have to really fight. Every 2.5 years, we've got an opportunity to remove or put someone in government. Use your democratic right as the prescript of our constitution. Very, very important. It makes sure that you are registered to vote. Go out and vote. I don't care who you vote for, as long as you don't really vote for people who've really failed you for 27 years. It's that decision I can make for you. You really make it yourself. But by not voting, one thing for sure is that you are actually compromising the future of your own children and your grandchildren.
I guess, Mr. Mashaba, it's education, the voter education that's lacking. We need to educate our people that when you just sit and fold your arms, you're actually giving leeway and more leverage to the other party. Like you're saying, they think that, or rather, we think that if I don't vote, it's fine, they won't win, but we are actually giving leverage. I suppose it's lack of knowledge in that department, so people will need to educate people more about the importance of having their X on those papers.
Absolutely. If we need to save this country, and I think we're on the verge of collapse. Yesterday, Stats SA just gave us the contraction of our economy, contracted by 7%. For us to start reversing the unemployment rate in this country, we need a minimum of 5%. And since 1994, we achieved 5%. The best I think we achieved was over 4% during Thabo Mbeki. And we started going down and down. Now, 7% contraction of the economy. If it was a business, we'll be out of business. Because South Africa right now is bankrupt. We're sitting with our debt ratios sitting at close to 90%. Sooner will be 100%. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong in going out to borrow money, but you use money for development. But if you're going to borrow money to steal and you give away, unfortunately, this country will collapse, and I can tell South Africans to understand that for this country to collapse, it will be a tragedy for the world, because Zimbabwe, that beautiful country, the way the ZANU-PF has destroyed it, South Africa will be like a Sunday school picnic, will be another will be one of the South American country like Mexico, where we will need to have armies in communities to protect one another. And I don't think we really want to really live like that, because to reverse that situation, it's almost impossible. You can imagine right now, South Africa, I'm sure all of you are aware, we're a junk status. That means South Africa, in terms of credit worthiness, we're not credit worthy. The only way South Africa can go out and borrow money, they can only get money from Bomachonisa.
Loans and loans.
No, South Africa can't go to normal commercial institution to go and get money at favorable rates. South Africa we can go out and borrow and sell our country like we are doing right now. We are actually mortgaging our country. One of these days, I can tell you, some countries are going to take over, because the more we go and borrow and we give them, we go and borrow money and we give them our country as collateral, then one day this country, our grandchildren will be working for other countries. There'll be slaves. There'll be slaves of other countries, because are you aware there's modern day slavery happening in this country in a big scale? Scale, in a big time. The slavery that is happening in South Africa today is a shame. Here in the city of Johannesburg, I've always said to the media, when I raise this issue of control borders and holding Home Affairs accountable, people will call me names, but I will then challenge them. I said, please, let me go and show you what evil is happening. Modern day slavery. Kids, young girls as young as 8 to 10 who with their mother, sometimes they will take a kids with their mother, turn them as prostitute. The only thing that they get, the only payment that they get is more drugs. That's the only payment that they get. And
so that they depend more on them.
Yeah, and then you live in a country where we have we, like this month, we're celebrating human rights. Right now, you know how many young girls, as I'm talking to you right now, can take you to not 1, not to 10, not to 20 places where you'll be ashamed of yourself. But you talk about it, you will be insulted. I'm dealing with a case today, for the last few months, of a woman police officer, pregnant at the time. The station commander of Mashishing abusing these women, police officers, not ordinary women. And even up to today, this station commander is still there. And this woman, while being abused, when she raised this matter, kidnapped, tied, left for dead in the middle of the night in the bush. She didn't know where she was tied, blindfolded. How she survived, honestly, it's only God who knows how this woman died. Police officer, I'm not talking about ordinary. Her fault was to report the station commander that this man is sexually abusing us. Here in South Africa, I reported this to the president of the country. I've reported this matter to the minister of police, to the
no one
MP.
is doing anything.
Yeah, no. Now you can imagine if our women are abused in the force. I mean, policemen and women are our first line of defense. So
Absolutely.
if our women, I've reported this, ANC Women's League, they're the ones who are saying to be fighting for women. Yes, a lady in Mashishin, and it's not just really is one case. And now we talk about human rights, and these are things that we need to really talk about as South Africans. But ultimately, the 18 million South Africans who did not go out and vote, I want them and I call upon them all the time to say, look at yourself in the mirror. Here are the numbers. Here, this government, one thing for sure, it was democratically elected. And this is your role that you've played in putting them into power by not going out to vote. You played a role by not going out to vote. When we see our women being abused, when we see our young kids being made to be prostituted by drug cartels from all over the world, from Pakistan, Nigeria, everywhere, then you South Africans who don't go out and vote, you are also playing a role. But I think, as you said earlier on, it's because of lack of vote education, and vote education is not going to be the priority of this government, because obviously the lack of education, provision of education in this country, it is deliberate. You can ask my wife. Already in the late 90s, I was saying to her, I said to her, my dear, this government is determined to keep blacks poor and uneducated. For more than 10 years, my wife didn't believe me. She thought I was running mad or unfair. Today, because I could see it early stages that you know what, this is not a mistake, because I used to engage them a lot to say, you are going to destroy the education of our children with SATU. You know, this the union, the teachers union, they've played a very, very key role in the destruction of black education, or of education in our country. And this was deliberate. It was, honestly, it's not a mistake. That's why you can keep these two ministers of education, higher education, and so forth. They're being rewarded for failing the black youth, because whites can afford to a large extent take their kids to private schools and functional schools in their communities. 80% of the schools that are dysfunctional are in the black communities. And I can tell you, does SATU or COSATU care about it? No, they are part of of this. And my wife never used to believe me. But fortunately
You
enough,
know,
the example, there's overwhelming evidence today, South Africa, in terms of our educational results are the worst in the world.
I want to agree with you on the educational part, because one of the things that COVID has exposed is that we are so taught to be employees as South African. We have taught to report to someone. We go to these varsities and tertiary education, and the system has taught us that after this, go and work for someone. Entrepreneurial skills have never been introduced in our education system, and I'm talking from experience as well. As a South African voice country, I've only upskilled myself by reading, listening to, following people like you who are entrepreneurs, to following YouTube to understand the entrepreneurship part of it. Because right now, COVID-19 has crippled the economy so much that a lot of companies are laying down people. People are sitting at home and all they want to do and all they know for a job. We don't have them. We have not been trained to say, okay, now I don't have a job. What is it that I can take and sell? Just that little small skill to move you forward as an individual. So COVID-19 has exposed that our education system is actually crippled. I want to agree with you on that part.
And not just really the education, the labor, the regime. You must understand this current government, a majority of them were trained by the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, when they took power in 1917 with Lenin and followed by Stalin for many years, and provided majority, most of the training was provided by the Soviets, was provided by the Cubans. And those systems are about oppression, are about making people dependent. It's about silencing people. You know, the only thing that communism has done in life and achieved since 1917, they are mass murderers. The only thing that they did and did well is to murder their citizens, because communism does not really want clever people, clever blacks. Remember, they came out already, you know, I mean, how on earth can you get a democratic government hating clever blacks? I mean, I love clever blacks. So I've always been committed to the project of seeing clever blacks and clever South Africans. Unfortunately, this government is committed to see dumb blacks and dumb South Africans. But we're going to fight this. We're going to ensure that we one day we can be a proud nation again. Is it going to be easy? Life is not easy. I've never really taken for granted. The challenge is to get South Africans to really wake up to this reality that we are in trouble. We've got a governing party that wants to keep us poor and uneducated. Look at the embarrassing thing with the pandemic, with stealing up to parcels. At the time when our people, you can just imagine people of Alexander or Switzerland or one of the informal settlements during the lockdown, stage 5, whatever you want to call it. People were forced to be in their homes. That's why they even had the army against them. And you will not really get food parcels. Food parcels will be sold and be given to people who are card-carrying members. But if you're not carrying member and you're not allowed to go and work to provide for yourself and your family, I mean, and you talk about human rights month. I mean, these are things that honestly and truly believe as South Africans, let us debate human rights. It should not really be something that we talk about once a month in a year. This is something there's something that we need to talk about and be vocal and not be silenced by anyone. Let them call us names, let them insult us, because that's how communists and dictators work, is by silencing people and getting the police and the army on us. Let them kill us, but the more they can kill us, one day we will our future generations can benefit. But by silencing us, the country will collapse.
So Mashaba, I know that now you're a founder of Action South Africa, and they call you Papa Action, I suppose, because you implement things, you take action. As I can hear, you're passionate about implementing the rights of the people. What I want to know from you, one of your core values in Action South Africa is about immigration, and we've spoken about it a little bit earlier on. I wanted to just go back to it. So how do you, as the founder of Action South Africa, plan to protect the rights of locally unemployed people versus the opportunities given to those who are foreigners? And by me saying foreigners, I'm not just talking about our Black people from Malawi, from Kenya, from Nigeria. I'm talking also the European foreigners, American foreigners who are in this country. What are you going to do in terms of fighting for locals and their human rights regarding employment?
Okay. I think, Ginger, let me tell South Africans something. I'm sure all of us know the history of this country. This country was built at the back of migrants. So South Africa was built at the back of migrants. And I think, me personally, I'm really for one to continue building this country at the back of migrants, because they can bring the skills that we don't have in this country. They can bring in foreign direct investment that we so desperately need. The only thing that we are asking people of the world to do, as per the prescripts of our constitution, please come to our country legally. And when you are here, please respect our laws. That's all we're asking. And there is no country in the world that does not really expect foreign nationals to live under those conditions. But unfortunately, South Africa, we're the only country in the world where undocumented people have got more rights than you and I. So I'm been saying to this government, if you don't want foreign nationals to have identity document, then please, let all of us pass a law so that we know in South Africa, you don't have to really have a birth certificate, you don't have to have an ID, so that we are a lawless society. But you can't expect people to really come into the country illegally, and then when we question, then you call us xenophobic. I think you are taking us for fools. So if you believe that foreigners don't need to really carry IDs or do not have to have IDs, then why should why are we as South Africans forced to have an ID? Because you can, as a South African, at birth, right now as I'm talking to you, there's a woman out there, South African, giving birth. And that hospital has got a constitutional obligation to issue a birth certificate. Every Black child, every single day, when you turn 16, you must take an ID. It's not negotiable. It is within the law. And but why then are we saying that anyone can come from Pakistan all the way? You know how many Pakistan we've got in this country without documentation, marrying out of them, with the majority of them without their knowledge, which Home Affairs is as corrupt as it's an embarrassment. Do you know why the United Kingdom has imposed visas on us South Africans? All along dispensation under Mandela, under Thabo Mbeki, for us as South Africans, we did not need a visa to go to the UK. I just needed a passport. And the UK government raised, and a lot of other European countries, the UK engaged South Africa. It's there, it's on record. They engaged South Africa to say, South Africans, we've got a problem because we're catching a lot of people coming into our country with fraudulent South African ID documents. You guys will have to really do something, or otherwise we're going to be forced to apply our own laws. And then, unfortunately, our country ignored them because I don't know what they thought. They are running a criminal syndicate. Now, you and I, today, to go to the UK, we have to really get a visa. And you know why they want the visa? They want to check whether the ID is,
are you really South African?
Is credible or not.
Valid.
It's a valid one. So, because the international criminal syndicates discovered the corruption within South Africa, so they come in, They'll come into South Africa within a couple of weeks. They get South African passports, including, IDs, including passports. We gave it to the Guptas, so people will know that they'll get a South African passport, and a South African passport, because South Africa at the time under Nelson Mandela, we were the envy of the world. You could go anywhere because there, obviously South Africa was a transit to really go to other countries. And today, we are paying the price, you and I, because our parents or our fellow South Africans have allowed criminality to be the order of the day in our country.
So what I want to understand from you, what is it that you are planning to do as Action South Africa, as a Papa Action, as they call you, to deal with this matter, of illegal immigrants in this country and undocumented foreigners who are here in our country? What are you planning to do, but to also ensure that our human rights are protected? What is your action plan?
Well, the only way you can protect the human rights of South Africans and our foreign nationals, you've got to really make sure that everyone who's in this country has got the documents to be in South Africa. So Home Affairs has got a constitutional obligation to make sure that they round us all up, to make sure that we've got documentation. If you're not a South African, you don't have you don't have papers to be in South Africa, assess your situation, where you came from and why you're in South Africa. If you are in South Africa for criminal intent, send you back to your country. And that's what for us as Action SA we committed to. And those that are here to add value to us, and the thousands of them who are credible, genuine, the people who are here, we assimilate them as part of our society. But who are here to turn this into another Mexico, we send them wherever they came from. We will revoke the South African citizenship if they fraudulently acquired it. If they married our women for wrong reasons, unfortunately, we will revoke those marriages and send them back where they came from.
Okay. There's a comment here. He's taking us back to the poverty topic that we're talking about. He's saying poverty, and agreeing with you, I suppose. Comment is, poverty and hunger aren't happening by accident. They are man-made injustices. People are kept in hunger, powerless, and locked in poverty by rules and practices that only benefit a few. It does not have to be that way. So I suppose this viewer is agreeing with what you said earlier on about poverty and how our country is actually trying to cripple people's power and make them powerless so that they can rule in a manner that is unjust. But on that note, I want to ask you, we do know that with regards to poverty, inequality, and unemployment, we can talk about the Marikana massacre if we can. According to the World Insight studies, there's still the wealth with the previously advantaged individuals, okay? They still have the majority of the wealth. And at the moment, we're struggling as the previously disadvantaged people. So the Constitution, the human rights celebration that we hold every year, means nothing to the layman person down the street, your ordinary South African. So what have you done? Maybe as a mayor, previously when you were a mayor of Johannesburg, or even now as the founder of Action South Africa, what have you done to make sure that the Constitution remains a living document, not just things that are written on paper for the sake of looking pretty, but to take it and implement it and ensure that the rights of South Africans are protected?
Well, I think, let me just give you, I had a privilege to serve the residents of Johannesburg for 3 years. One example I can give, a practical one, and there's thousands that I can give you, but let me give you a practical one. And I happen to really be in one of the regions in Galfontein today with the security guys in one of the clinics. And on my way, there was a police roadblock, Metro Police. They just could not believe that they were so grateful that I made them human beings. I gave them dignity. Because what I did, when I came into office, through discussion with other parties, including the EFF, discovered the exploitation of our people by the ANC government, up to 7,000 just in the city of Johannesburg, where for a security guard. The city of Johannesburg was 14,000 rands to a tenderpreneur. A tenderpreneur will pay a fellow South African 3,500 rands a month. They don't give them an employment letter. They don't give them any benefits, not even a salary. They never used to be paid on a regular basis. Yeah, I mean, I still fight today with some of the security companies in the city of Johannesburg. I made sure that, you know what, this 14,000 rands, we've doubled security guys, take-home pay. We doubled. Take-home pay, we doubled. They got appointment letters. Every month they get a salary slip. They know they get paid only on the 25th of every month, so that you can take every month, go and show it to your husband or your wife or your children that, you know what, I work for the city of Johannesburg. Whereas in the past, they used to work for this highness. One of the biggest contractor to the government, one individual was driving 11 cars. So he posted, we actually, at one time when I was a mayor, posted one of the signers with the 11 cars, not just ordinary cars, top of the range cars, 11 of them. But end of the month comes, people will be, at the end of the month, they will be paid sometimes on the 11, 12. They will pay them as and when they want it. But the city will be paying them every month. But what I find really quite saddening and sickening, really disheartening, is that this was happening under the watch of COSATU. This was happening under the watch of the South African Communist Party, who claimed to be the vanguard of the most vulnerable. It's a shame. And it's still happening all over the country, where our people are employed by third parties. And you look at who these third parties are. The hyenas, how they're exploiting our people. And what I'm saying it's sickening is that the very same people who are on television, as I'm talking to you, they are on television, on our television screens, telling us about unemployment, telling us about exploitation and so forth. In the meantime, they are the very same people who are exploiting our people, including stealing public monies, trillions of monies that were stolen from the time of the arms deal. You know, South Africa, during Nelson Mandela, you remember, we were the darling of the world. South Africa had no threat whatsoever. But we had massive housing backlog. We had massive infrastructure backlog. What they did with the first project that the ANC government, unfortunately, it's a fact, the first big project that they undertook was to buy armaments. And armaments today that are sitting, some of the fighter jet aircraft that they bought, they're lying somewhere. They don't even know how to fly those machines. They bought them. They bought them at exorbitant prices. Submarine machines, they're lying. They don't know how to use them. They don't care. Our rail network today, you can't travel by train. We used to travel by train from Pretoria to Joburg to Soweto. Go and look at Johannesburg Central Station. I don't know where you grew up, but Johannesburg Central Station was the pride of this nation. We should have taken it to the next level. The trains are not running today. We're still running with trains built and bought by HF Vervoers. They're lying, they're sitting, just going to Braamfontein, going to see that. Our people have got to use these taxis. And our, you know, the special planning of the apartheid government, ANC has taken it to another level. Our people live in Orange Farm, you know. You can imagine you live in Orange Farm and you work in a factory in Midrand. You know how many taxis you've got to use. Our people spend up to 60–70% of their monies, the little that they get, on transport. This is happening. This is happening under the South African Human Rights. We've got Human Rights Commission. We've got the Public Protector. We've got all sorts of this beautiful stuff on paper. but it's a government practicing. Unfortunately, the President Cyril Ramaphosa and Jacob Zuma today, they're showing a middle finger to our constitution.
It's quite a sad and unfortunate situation that's really in South Africa. But just as you spoke about the public spaces, you mentioned Braamfontein and the trains, etc. I want to know and to understand and take a chance or hike on there. In our public spaces, we're talking about inclusivity now. In our public spaces, I have not seen much of unisex toilets for your LGBTQI. How are we as South Africans, how are we as the government, and how are you as a leader of such a great political party planning to include them? Because I go to, like you're saying, Braamfontein. Fortunately, I work in Braamfontein, so I pass those areas quite often, and I see that it's still male and female toilets kind of situation. How are we planning to include them into, and how are you planning to also protect their rights, because they are South African citizens?
Ginger, fortunate enough, when I left the DA and left as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg, because I realized that the DA and I never shared the same values, and I decided to walk away from this, which was quite unfortunate. I started what is today known in South Africa as the People's Dialogue, and because I felt, I'm listening to, every time I get into the car, listening to radio, I look at social media, people were calling on me to say, Mashaba, please start your own political party. I said, how do I start a political party? There's real people. That's how on 6th of December 2019 launched the People's Dialogue to run for 3 months. Was a codessa by South Africans to tell me what kind of South Africa they want. And I tell you, when I approached my family to fund this project, which we didn't know, the family wanted to know how much was involved, because we don't have but I said, I don't know, but I think it's a gift. It will be my family's gift to this nation, so that there's an engagement of ordinary South Africans to tell us what type of South Africa they want. For me, at the time, I said to them, if I have half a million South Africans who can give us the mandate to start a political party, we will start. South Africans surprised us. We managed to reach 33 million South Africans. Out of the 33 million, 2.4 million South Africans gave us the input and the mandate to start a new political party. So Action SA is not a party that started because one had an ambition to be a leader of a political party. That's the last thing in the world I wanted. We, as a political party, we have a scientific evidence of 2.4 million South Africans who gave us the mandate to start this political party with 7 core values. If I have time, I can just quickly share with you without expanding.
Go ahead, sir.
We're an organization committed to non-racialism. If you are looking for a racial party, please, we don't stand on the fence. Go somewhere else. We don't need your vote. We believe in non-racialism. We believe in the free market economy, where we can have the private sector as government to play a role for the private sector to create employment opportunities for people investing in our country, not us as government. Our role is to come out with laws that are equitable, fair, and transparent. We believe in social justice. You spoke about the inequality and so forth. I don't want to live in a society where this morning I tweeted a video clip of rats in Alexander that are actually chasing dogs in Alexander. I live here in Senton, across the street in Alexander. I mean, how do you say something like this happening? This inequality, as government, we need to aggressively and deliberately work towards making sure that we close the inequality in this country, because we don't want to be you can't be a non-racial South Africa. You can't have the free market economy when you don't have social justice. We need social justice. That is why my fight and divorce with the DA was because they did not want me to focus on poor people. And I said, I'm not here to serve political parties. I'm here to serve my people and my country. So you can keep your party, I'm out of here. And that's how I left the DA, because they did not want me to focus on poor communities. And this for me was not negotiable. So we misread one another. So for the rule of law, we cannot afford a situation where people rape women, they kill our people, they steal money, there are no consequences. There has to really be consequences for breaking our laws. We need education revolution where we spend quality education. I tell Satu, and I want Satu to know, if there's anyone belonging to Satu to really know that Action SA, if given an opportunity to be government of this country, they are not going to decide to become the principal in a school. That decision is going to be government. We are going to reintroduce schools inspectors. When we put you as a principal of a school, we are going to hold you accountable. We are going to have inspectors coming unannounced. And when we find that you are not suitable, you are out. Will show you the door. So that our children get the right type of education by committed teachers. We want electoral reform where our public reps are not elected by us behind closed doors, are elected by the communities. Like right now, we're busy with preparations to contest the Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. Within the next few days, you'll see notices going out for people to make themselves available so that we can run primaries. We are, as a party, we're going to be the first party in this country to run primaries where the communities are going to decide to represent them in council. Who represent them you are not going to be a member of parliament because Mashaba decided, because you're a friend, you remember. The community that you represent, the constituency, that constituency you come from, you're going to be elected by them to go and represent Action SA in government. Lastly, ethical leadership. If you're the type of person that does not really believe in the rule of law and you're not an ethical person, please don't come anyone near us. I think this matter is not negotiable. These 7 core values are not negotiable. And obviously, they embrace the issue that you are talking about, that every South African and foreign national who's here legally, those who respect our laws, we will ensure that we engage them, because our policies and our party's foundation is actually built on engaging people, not us. So everything that we do, we will engage people. Right now, we're not government, we're the new political party. We're going to be contesting for the first time at local government level, where we cannot even change the policies, but we will be ready in 2024 to contest the entire country. If South Africans give us an opportunity to be that government, we will ensure that the people of this country are our bosses, because that's how democracy works. For democracy to succeed, it means it must be the kind of democracy that listens to civil society. But civil society needs to take that responsibility. That is why we are appealing to the 18 million South Africans to say, please protect our country. You are the ones, you just have to, it's not even a sacrifice, it's actually a right. For me, I feel, that's why I admire Australia. In Australia, voting is compulsory.
Sure. Which is something that we can use as well as a tool to help protect our rights.
It is illegal in Australia not to vote. And look at that island, how rich and successful they are. Because everyone, the government, to be in government, they are there because they've got the mandate of the people, and they know that people are going to vote them in or out. Here in our country, we've got a government that is actually making sure that people are uneducated, they're ill-informed, they're desperate, they're powerless, they rely on 350 rands a month. Even that 350 to get, you've got to bribe. Are you aware? Even this 350 to get, you've got to bribe to get it. I mean, what kind of society is this? But I'm hopeful we'll fix it. I'm a very positive person that will save our beloved country.
I'm afraid we've run out of time, Mr. Mashaba, but for the last question that I have for you, then how do we then educate our people about their rights, give them information so that they're not in the dark, and they help themselves by, being informed and protecting themselves by knowing what's out there for them?
Look, normally, a project of this size and nature would require the government. But one thing for sure, our government is not going to educate our people about their rights.
Absolutely.
And as Section SA, we started with the People's Dialogue to engage South Africans about their rights. And you will see our campaign. Our campaign is not going to be around. Filling up the stadiums and inviting musicians to come and get people, give them gigs and so forth. The little money that we are going to have, we're sitting right now with 160,000 volunteers. We will go from house to house, street to street, community by community, ensure that we educate our people to understand the power that they have as voters, that they're the ones the future of this country depends on.
Okay, so you'll be doing the dirty work, getting your hands dirty in making sure that people understand their rights and their. Thank you so much, Mr. Hermann Mashaba. We truly appreciate you being here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Hermann Mashaba, author, entrepreneur, and the founder of Action South Africa. You can actually follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook as well, to read more and understand about their core values. Thank you so much for talking to us about protecting our human rights and what you, as our new political campaign or party, are willing to do for South Africa. We sense that you're a man of integrity. We sense that you're a man who's true to his word. So we are excited as South Africans that there is a possibility that we are going to move away from corruption and every other thing that is pulling us back and fighting and making us powerless. If we have in the pudding, we shall see what you and your party have in store for us as South Africans. We will not, count our eggs before they hatch. But we are hopeful. What you've said today and what we read in the media about what you stand for, it looks good. It seems good. We are very hopeful as South Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, please do educate yourself about your rights in South Africa. Do vote. It's important that you give that X. Okay, so noting down now, because you're rendering yourself powerless and you're rendering any political party that is in action or is leading us at that time, and you don't want it, you're giving them power. So please, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through. Happy Human Rights Month. Enjoy yourselves and bask in the knowledge that also God loves you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Mr. Mashaba, we're truly thankful as South Africans that you took your time to come to Ginger the Voice. Have a very good night, and we shall see you next week. Same time, same place. My name is Ginger, and I'm the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as singing, speaking, and hosting talk shows such as these. So we'll see you next week. Good night, God bless, and peace to all of you South Africans.
Thank you very much.